Welcome everybody to Eye of the Serpent Tarot for another pick a card reading. So today's pick a card reading is your soul's number one message right now to you. The thing that your soul would most like to talk to you about in relation really to your life path, soul purpose, spiritual path, that kind of thing. It may well touch upon things that are very much in the material world and what you're doing in your career or love life or whatever. That could very well be related to it. But I'm really trying to kind of elevate it to or at least start on the level of what it is around soul purpose and soul arc and spiritual development and all of those sort of things. But we will definitely also look at it on the material level in this as well. So that's the idea. For that reason, I decided to use 3 different tarot decks, all which I think have a kind of element of the celestial or the liminal or the fantastical to, as I say, try and elevate this to that level, even though there will be cards that we use as we go through that actually kind of take it into very much the material world at the moment. So that's really what we're looking at today, and it could be very broad or it could be very specific. We'll see what Spirit wants to say to help with the choice. And this particular card for each of the tarot will be part of the beginning of trying to work out what the message is about. For pile number 1, we have the Wheel of Fortune card from the Meiklejohn Tarot, which is a very angel-based tarot. For pile number 2, we have the Star from the Fairy Tale Tarot. And for pile number 3, we have the Devil from the Journey to Oz and Wonderland Tarot. And don't be scared of that necessarily. This might be about you freeing yourself from something or something very intense coming up and some sort of questions that you need to balance potentially around the sort of philosophy or morality of something. So if you always go to pile number 3, don't be put off by the fact that it's the devil there. If you're intrigued by the fact that it's the devil, by all means go there. If you feel drawn to more than one pile, by all means go to more than one pile, because there might be more than one really key message. Although say this is the number 1, it might be an amalgam of the 2, or your soul might think it's a little bit hard for me to decide between these 2, so you may be feeling the same thing. So do whatever works for you, but when you know what reading or readings you want to go to, the timestamps are in the description box below, and I'll see you there. Welcome pile 1 to your reading. So you came to the reading with the Wheel of Fortune card from the Meiklejohn Tarot. We have here some astrology cards to help give me a sense about what this message is about. Over here we have the Heart Code Oracle cards that will look at some of the things in the more material world a little bit later in the reading. One of the things that fascinates me about this particular depiction of the wheel, you sort of see the wheel there behind the angel. And then you see what appears to be a very big planet with a lot of sort of fiery energy. At the time I'm filming this, and when it actually is published will be when I feel Spirit says it's time for this to be published, but the time I'm filming it, there's a lot of solar flares operating at the moment, so I feel like there's a connection energy to that. I think there's a connection to really big, fiery, creative energy around this, change, things that have a big impact, a wide impact, because certainly around the solar flares, that's the case. You know, it's a higher level of activity than usual. And a lot of scientists say that this, could cause all sorts of disruptions to our environment at various levels and so forth. Energetically, it's probably impacting us as well. So it's interesting, but it's the Wheel of Fortune. So that also says it is of its time. And I think that's true also of this. This is a high degree of solar flare activity, higher than it has been for a long time. It will eventually pass, and then it will not be so extreme and so forth. So there's something in this message, I think, about something of a very big impact to you that is now of its time, and it's a fortunate time. It's a good time to be looking at it. And that's partly because there is a breakthrough energy here. We have Saturn and Pluto. So Saturn is all the old structures, all the old ways that things were done. Pluto is the revolution. So it could be talking about something in your life path, your soul path, that is about breaking through old things that no longer serve, having a kind of internal, not necessarily tower moment, but a time that is about change, but as I say, in a sort of fiery, creative way. I feel like it's harnessing the energy as well for a couple of reasons. One is that I feel that Saturn helps you do that. I feel like what this is saying is that the people who come to this reading, you have a very grounded, mature energy. So when there is sort of something like solar flares, when there's any of those sort of things, you are able to not only discern it, but you're able to withstand it and to allow the right degree of change to occur. So Pluto on its own, or Pluto maybe with Uranus, could have been something mass sort of revolution energy, something that might be a little bit hard to control, a bit like the Tower upright in tarot. This is a bit more like the Tower reversed, where there is a control over it. It's a controlled demolition, if you will, which is not to say that something is demolishing in your life. I'm just using it as an analogy. It's like step by step using the energy, controlling and containing the energy. There's something about that. So there's a lot of, for you around your soul path, there may be a lot of the sense of solar energy. I would be paying attention to what aspects are there to your natal sun if you know your chart at the moment, particularly if any of the outer planets, particularly if it's like Saturn or Pluto or Mercury or Venus for that matter, are aspecting it in any way at the moment. That could be very telling around what this is about, and what house it is in could tell you a lot about what it's about. But there's that sense for a start. The timing is right for this, and you have the sense of control to take it through. The other thing that you have is that you have a very good balance of head and heart, because you've got like Mercury kind of representing the head here, Venus representing the heart. You have a very beautiful way of speaking, whether it's literally the sound of your voice or whether you're very articulate. There's a way that you can bring information out that is very pleasing to people and soothing, I think, to people. And maybe you are meant to now be getting a sense of changes that are going on in your environment, spiritually, occupationally, financially, socially, whatever it is. And you're meant to actually, because you have this capacity to understand and contain the energy and communicate it so well, you're meant to actually help others potentially. But whatever it is, and it could be done through a creative act because of the kind of solar, fiery sort of energy there. Whatever it is, you have both the kind of structure and discipline and the eloquence to take yourself through this in a very positive way. So I think your soul wants to say, don't worry about the amount of change. Don't worry if you're feeling it. If you are at the moment, if depending, as I say, on when I publish this, if I publish it close to when I film it, then the solar flare energy might still be going on. Or if you think back to that, you think, yeah, I could see changes starting at that point, and I'm now kind of like resolving them and working out what I want to do with it. Or even if it's just energy that you feel at the moment for things that are going on astrologically for you, just take the message from the spirit, from your soul here, that you're in charge, that you're able to do that you can actually deal with this. So let's get a little bit more information about the message itself, just to try and clarify a bit more about what's going on. Then we're going to have a look at how it's filling in with the arc of your kind of lives as a whole, your spiritual journey, because your soul is always interested in the full arc of your development, not just what's going on right now. And then see what advice does your soul have in relation to this. So a bit more on the message for you. The Three of Wands reversed, the Empress, the Moon. Wow, Sun and Moon, that's interesting too. There's a lot of balance that you have, which is good. The Hanged Man reversed. This is big with all these major arcana. The Four of Wands reversed. Okay, the first thing I'm going to say is that this will be important, your eloquence, because there is a natural thing here where I think you are able to deal with the energies, deal with the change, deal with an understanding of what's going on a level that most people can't. As a result of that, you may find at first when you're trying to express what you're feeling, experiencing, sensing or whatever, there is a pushback. With both the Three of Wands reverse and the Four of Wands reverse, it feels like this is a path that you have to go through initially. You can't necessarily take companions with you. You can't rely on the group to agree with you. There may be something that you have seen or understood in change at the moment that others have not seen yet. As a result of that, you have to stand firm in the truth of what you have, and you have to understand that this is not a group energy. This is like you've had an aha moment about something in some aspect of your life. At the moment, the consensus opinion is very different, but you actually do have the balance, and you're understanding this in a bigger picture. You're also trying to work on bringing in abundance and creativity and something that is positive. This could be very environmental for some of you. It doesn't have to be, but there is a sense that you are trying to also protect something that is precious. And you've had a kind of a psychic insight that, as I say, the general public haven't had. You look at things very differently to other people. It's different in the way it needs to be. Otherwise, we would always just stay with the calcified beliefs that we have. The Pluto energy there is very strong for you. and the time is right, but Spirit is saying, or your soul is saying, it's not right to try and gather people around you to get a little tribe that agree. That will probably follow, because with Mercury and Venus you are able to articulate this well, but this is the road less traveled, really. There's something, there is a big shift. It is towards better balance. I feel like this is like the sun, even though it's the Wheel of Fortune. Sun and moon, Mercury and Venus, all of that kind of thing. Very, very nurturing energy, but not of the group. This is not of the group. And it may in fact be, you might have been rejected by the group, and you may feel like you're standing alone in the storm, but in actual fact, you have more than what you need to take this forward and create something else. It's just that you think differently. So let's see, how does this fit in the broader arc of your soul's development, which could be, if you believe in reincarnation, across many lives. If you don't, where you are in your life compared to sort of cradle to grave sort of appreciation of your development. Two of Cups, the Hermit reversed, Six of Pentacles reversed, the High Priestess reversed, Eight of Wands reversed. Okay, all right. So, interestingly, this is probably why we've got Mercury and Venus. I think it sort of starts with the high degree of energy, knowing it's time, moving into how do you go through the change that's necessary, moving into the kind of the eloquence and the capacity to sort of bring it all together. Your soul is saying this is actually all about the right connection. So it may be that you had to be rejected from something else, rejected from a job, rejected from a group, rejected from a social community, whatever it might be, to go towards what is right for you. As I say, because you've reached a point where you can't just agree with the consensus reality, because it's not real. You've actually realized it's not real. You're a bit ahead of the curve. Your soul is saying this is actually about you finding, coming out from being behind the scenes a bit, and being sort of always kind of like feeling inferior, not necessarily inferior, but feeling lesser than status-wise or something like that with the people that you're with, to actually knowing who you are and making the right connection. So where this is all about, this journey, this is why it's a fortunate thing and why it's passionate, is meant to connect you with the right people, the people who are your equals, rather than people who are trying to lord it over you, or who, quite frankly, aren't your equals because you've moved beyond it, and it is what it is. There's a lot of a sense of this is about revelation and things coming to the surface for you, this different way of thinking. This feels like sort of someone, they talk about being red-pilled, it feels a bit like that. It feels like you've had whether you've had access to information or whether you've had an insight, whether you've had a download or something, you can't look at things the way that everybody looks at things anymore, because you've sort of seen the other side, you've seen the other evidence, you've broken through the propaganda, division walls that we have so much. So that is there, and like this journey is to find the others who've done that. You don't have to hurry up. This is not something that has to be, it is the time to go through this, but it doesn't have to be rushed. So if you have a feeling of imperative about it, or you're feeling like, I'm feeling alone now, I'm feeling misunderstood, the one thing your soul wants to say is this is a very big shift for you. It is you elevating yourself to the right connections. You don't have to rush this. It's a big ticket thing. And Saturn there is probably to slow you down a bit too, to sort of not only for you to be able to control the change, but also for you to understand this isn't done in a day. This is to get the right connections for you. So I think a lot of this has to do with moving towards the people who, like you, operate with a great deal of insight, can see both sides, because there's very much a balance here, and think a bit differently to the general consensus. And we need people like you, so don't feel like you're having to rush it. So what advice does your soul have around this? Like understanding this is where you are at the moment, or you're about to be. If this hasn't happened yet, it's about to happen. You'll find yourself, you might even be surprised. You might think that it's obvious that there's two sides to a story, and then you find that everyone around you just won't listen to the other side, that kind of thing. So let's see what your soul wants to say about this. Page of Swords. Justice, the World. Wow, this is powerful. This is powerful. I think for many of you, this will have a very large reach, potentially online. And then the Five of Pentacles reversed. Yeah, it's saying overall, do not worry about being alone. That's the first thing. Do not worry about being alone. Do not worry about material costs of this. That will work itself out. So Spirit says, don't worry about that. Even when we get to sort of like the material and the relationship energy here, even if it's a challenge, it's a passing challenge. And if there's benefits here, then remember that. because that's not going to be the issue. There is something here. It has a kind of social justice feeling to it on some level, whatever that means to you. And it's communication. This is the Mercury. Your communication is going to be very key here. You are more balanced than whatever it is that you're trying to push against. You actually are. And if you are starting to doubt that because of people's responses, just look at the patterns of what was said and how it was said, and you will see that that's the case. There is something that needs to close out for something new for things to come into balance and something new to come into being. This is the Empress. The Empress cannot, in a sense, give birth to the new world until the old world has changed sufficiently. And there's a lot of people, even if it's just people who benefited out of the old system, that are not going to want that, and so, or not going to see that they have a possibility to also thrive in a different way in a new one. But there's something about your communication skills, and it could be you're online. It might be that you'll meet more people like you by being online than you will in your day-to-day at the moment. So, but know that you're on the right side. Know that you're balanced. Know that you have picked up and you're working with a cycle that needs to complete to bring something in, and you will not be alone for long. That's what your soul is wanting to say to you. So I wanted to have a look at it through a number of perspectives: human perspective, heart perspective, and spirit perspective. So see what we get with that as well. So the human perspective of this for you, the human experience you might be having as a result of this message. Fishbowl. Okay, you may feel like you're really obvious, like what you're doing is really obvious. You may, if it's calling you to be online or something like that, you might think, I don't really want to be seen to that degree. I'd like to sort of like be a little bit more behind the scenes. There's that kind of energy. I do think that your experience and what you do is going to be a bit more seen. But I think there's almost a little bit of a hint there. That fish is jumping out of the fishbowl. It's kind of like what you're worried about being seen is the old world, the fishbowl, the thing that was sort of contained and small. If you're jumping into something larger, then you can be more invisible when you need to be, and you can connect and be seen by the right people. But you will probably feel suddenly like if you were to speak up or say something, you're going to feel like every eye's turning to you and like looking at you because you've gone beyond the consensus thing. So that, know that that's a feeling that you might go through. You don't have to, but it's a possibility. It depends on how public you make your shift and your change. What about your heart? What is your heart feeling while all this is happening? Prospering heart. Look for beauty, abundance, and generosity. Yeah, look for the Empress. Look for the people that are like you. You are not going to be on your own. So even if you feel like you're on, you're going to feel like you're truer to your heart. You're following your heart's purpose. You're liberated in many ways. I'm just getting that for some of you, and I'm not saying go and watch pile 3, but I really do feel that the Devil card there in the choice was about needing to be liberated in some way. So some of you may have a connection there. Only do it if you felt it, but I'm just feeling that for some of you there might be a connection between the two. I don't know yet what that is. I do these readings in their order, so who knows? Let's see about the spiritual energy, the pure spiritual energy, almost from the 5D, that your soul would say is involved here. Oh, wow. Alchemist. Once you understand the essence of everything is contained within everything, all things become possible. Yeah, this is you. You are the alchemist. You are more in balance. If you are feeling like suddenly you're sticking out like a sore thumb and you're worried about what that will do, you will find people, because in the end, you're more balanced than the other view. You feel like, like on YouTube, whether you're talking about politics or whatever it might be, there's always like two polarized sets of channels that only look at one side. And then there's just one or two usually that look at the balance. You're like that. That's the energy that's operating here. And it's the right energy for you. So this is where we're going to have a look at the heart code oracles as well too. So in very broad terms, I would see the heart as being relationships. I would see the human as being kind of career, vocation, who we are in the world. And I would see the spirit as being general well-being. So when we look at the career, vocation, who you are in the world, the energy, promotion. Okay, all right. So this it might be a promotion that brings out the information and you realize suddenly like, wow, either I'm not in the right organisation, what do I do now? Or I've seen more and I understand more. And you're moving away from other people. Well, you are coming up to another level of equals and you will take this forward. You have the ability and the grace and the balance to do that. Or it will be that once you've gone through this change, what you're going to find is that very much elevates, brings in the abundance with the Empress for you. So ultimately, It may be for some of you a balance too. It kind of might be there are certain opportunities that are going to open up, but it will make you even more public and you just have to make a decision. Are you prepared for the kind of fishbowl feeling around that to do that or not? And of course you have the choice. When we look at the heart energy, distractions, okay, you're meant to prosper. I think some of the white noise of people not agreeing, people being jealous maybe potentially, if this is triggering it. Sorry, I just knocked the camera. Or just the arguments and the old style thinking could get in the way, so don't let that get in the way. The way that you're going to find the right heart connections is finding people who are balanced like you. Don't be distracted by the white noise. And then in relation to general well-being, when we're talking about the spiritual energy, immune system. Okay, all right. So when the immune system comes up, I feel like that the alchemist tells me you have a good balance of these things. Generally speaking, physically, everything is fine. But it could be that you almost have to immunize yourself from old style thinking, because it's like that could affect, the stress of it could just affect your system, or it could just be that you have to become immune to the pushback. If you're becoming more and more vibrant, seen, promoted or whatever with this very different way of thinking, you need to become immune to the old style thinking. It will depend upon the situation, but have a think about that. Let's get you a chakra balance for each of them as well. So when we're talking about the being in the world, and this possibility that this could make you very seen in one form or another, we have the throat chakra. That kind of makes sense. We've got I talk and my voice can be dominating. Okay, that's something to be aware of. So you may find, and I've found this myself sometimes when I've been in a situation where I feel like people are only looking at one side and you're trying to put the other side. It's possible that sometimes we replicate what we're dealing with and you become dominating as well. So it's very important, I think, with Mercury and Venus to balance. You're very articulate, you're very quick thinking, all of that sort of stuff, and you maybe will have a status or a position. But it's important to also listen. It's important because that's what took you to this anyway, being able to hear different perspectives. So sometimes what happens with people is that they rise through different perspectives and then they think their perspective is the only one and they become exactly like the thing they had to push against. Now, I'm not saying you will do it specifically, but your soul wants you to know you are very ahead of the curve. You are going to sort of start to get real benefit out of this. So don't become the thing that you're fighting against. It's just something to think about. Then in terms of balance around the heart, get the sacral chakra. I feel like I radiate warmth, balance. Yeah, so that's good overall. And I feel like I radiate warmth when this feels like it's coming from the solar flares. Yes, I think you radiate warmth. And I think that will definitely help with some of this. It's just that you might be very charismatic and you might not have seen yourself that way, but when you move into this or you start to take this energy on, you could have a lot of charisma. And again, that can become an issue. You have to be aware. This is just about having balance. It's not saying what you're saying is wrong. It's like the methodology of it. And then when we look at, as I say, immunizing yourself to keep your balance right, to keep everything in a balanced way if you're in a contentious situation. We have the root chakra. Again, that kind of makes sense. I'm giving myself care. Oh, that's good. So basically, again, the alchemist, you do know when you need to look after yourself spiritually, physically, all of those sort of things, and keep things in balance. So I think the only thing to know is that there's something in this that you start off initially almost feeling like you're going to be the excluded one. In the end, you find you're new people and you are more balanced and you are bringing great change in the way something is being looked at, and you're meant to do that. And you've got a bit of a choice about how visible you are. But the more visible you get, the more you probably have to think about this, because you're kind of doing it out of the balance of almost being neutral. It's very important then not to become like the authority and create, as I say, the same thing that you're dealing with. So I think that, your spirit guides want you to think about that. So let's get you a couple, or your soul wants you to think about that. Let's get you a couple of spirit guides, sort of mythical spirit guides that can help you with this, pile one. Amenzu. And Lazarus. So these two together are almost a bit like, we have Mercury and Venus there, but this is almost like Mars and Venus. So this is actually the moon, but this is very much about relationship. Lazarus, I think, is picking up the solar flare activity. It's interesting that I naturally had it on the Saturn-Pluto side. Lazarus is ruled by Mars, connected with Aries. It is about a coming challenge where you may stand out from others, but it is also saying that you will have victory. It may be a series of small victories that accumulate to something more, but it is saying there is a challenge coming or you are in the midst of a challenge. However, with Amenzu, this is about the gift of love and relationships and caring. So it's kind of like, if you face that and you incrementally, and this is the Saturn-Pluto energy, you incrementally build a series of small wins that shift and change your perspective, your position, other people's position, and brings you the right people. With the Two of Cups, as it said before, I think for many of you, if you're looking for love, you will find it. This Amenzu connects with the moon, so there's a very strong sense of spiritual and psychic ability around this to draw that sort of energy in. It just looks to me like you're being called upon now, as I say, to have the courage to move forward with the different perspective that's necessary to sort of shift something. You will, in the process of doing it, shift into a different group, into a different level of success, all of those things. But you also may, if you're looking for it, find love. So that's pretty exciting. Let's get you a couple of star energies to guide you as well. Oh, of course, Uranus. So revolution, rebellion, eccentricity, progress. I might put it over there. And it's interesting, I don't know if my microphone picked it up, but just as that came through, big street sweeper truck went past making a lot of noise. I think there's like the heavy energy. The big change is a bit heavy around this, but it is about progress. It is about the new. It's about new inspirations and so forth. So don't be afraid of that. You are, as I say, like what's coming to you is very direct and very pure, even if it means that you have to stand up against a group at first. And, sorry, I was shuffling the wrong deck there because I put down the star deck when I was sort of trying to pause so you didn't have to hear that street sweeper too much. So the second star energy, full moon, fertility, gratitude, abundance, and divine feminine. And then we've got the Empress. I definitely think if any of you have felt alone or not in the right relationship, this is shifting you to the right one. And there's a lot of progress and abundance and happiness to come out of it. But I also think this is saying you will bring this to term. You will actually create what it is that you're trying to do. This is like the victories are going to be there and better relationships. But, just don't blink when it comes to the point, that you have seen something, you have understood something that others haven't. Okay, so to finish off, because of that, because your soul is talking to you, I thought I would see what sort of divination or spiritual methodology might help you connect to your soul a bit more, whether you're already doing it or whether you try it out, just to kind of make sure that the conversation with your soul around this, you feel the connection as strongly as you can. So, hydromancy. So this is all about reading water, so reading emotion, the flow of things when things are necessary, as it's sort of showing here, maybe flowers and so forth. So, it could be, get a bowl of water and look into that, watch a river, whatever works for you. Or it just might be getting in touch with your emotional side and your heart, because a lot of this is more kind of, as I say, fiery sort of energy and intellectual energy. So following the guidance of your heart and your emotions and your intuition on that level could be very important, particularly around the moon energy. But certainly if you've ever sort of like thought you might want to kind of read water, scribe with water, then your soul is saying that's worth investigating that. So I hope that resonates for you, Pile 1. It's a pretty big message, but maybe these were going to be big messages given the nature of the particular question we're looking at. But I do feel like victory is pretty much assured here as long as you don't falter at the beginning by worrying about the initial pushback. You're more than up to this, Pile 1. I hope that you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, Pile 2, to your reading. So you came to the reading with the star. And there's a few things I get from this particular star card before I sort of get into anything else. I do think this is kind of about healing your heart so that you can expand something that you want to sort of say or connect, sort of almost more, it's about communication or something. It's healing your heart to communicate in an expansive way. We'll get to this. But It's very interesting the way this is portrayed. We have 7 stars, including the largest one. That could suggest that you have 7 days in the week, that one day in particular is really important in some way to you doing whatever this is, or you connecting with whatever this is. For some of you, you may be in a 7-year cycle. They say that our bodies completely on a cellular level change every 7 years. So if you're sort of like 21, 28, 36 and so forth, it could be picking up something about that around timing. Otherwise, I feel like 7, I feel really drawn to the concept of the 7s in the tarot. It'll be interesting to see how many we may or may not get as we go through with the tarot. But so the 7 of Wands is about having courage. The 7 of Swords is about being really clear with ourselves and understanding when we're being honest with ourselves and with others. And protecting ourselves from anybody who isn't being honest, that kind of energy. The 7 of Cups is being able to discern between the dream and the illusion. 7 of Pentacles is the slow but steady growth to what we want. So I think there's something about 7 with you, maybe the angel number 777, any of those sort of things. I think there's something in relation to that. Though this interesting thing is that you see the 7 points at the star, there is actually an 8th point that is connecting to the woman there. So it's also a progression from the 7 to the 8 on some level. So from the courage and the conviction and the understanding of growth to the actual abundance and the materialization of it. It will be interesting to see what we get with the heart code oracles a little bit later in the reading, because that's very much the 3D thing here. And I just feel there's something like on the surface of it, looking at Moon Chiron, that suggests emotional healing has got something to do with this. And then we have Mercury and Jupiter. I'm feeling that for some of you, there's something here where you're meant to talk about something in a way that is expansive and brings you abundance. And it's interesting because the 7 is a bit of an equivocal number within the tarot, like 7 of Swords. There is are you being honest with yourself? Are people being honest with you? 7 of Wands, are you ready to sort of take on the challenge, even if you have all the skills, that kind of thing. So there's a kind of an equivocal thing there, which makes me feel there's some sort of healing about your emotional side that your soul wants to do, because you are ready to communicate something. So it might be about owning that, the faith of that, and that you can expand and so forth, and you've done the healing that you needed to do. So it'll be interesting to see what we get. It's just, for some reason, I'm just very drawn to the numbers around it, and all of these stars, I think, have the 8 points. So you've got the sense of like the 7 moving to the 8, but there's 7 of them rather than 8 stars. So make of that what you will as to whether or not that kind of registers for you. Maybe it'll register later in the piece around this. Let's have a look with tarot. So what we're going to do, we're firstly going to ask for just a little bit more about what is this message that your soul is bringing to you. And remember, when I talk about soul, I'm talking about the part of you that's looking at the entire arc of your development. So if you believe in reincarnation, it's across all lives. If you don't, it's across this whole life. So it's a very long-term perspective. And so sometimes it has some tough love that comes with it. Other times it can be very soothing when you've been through something difficult. There's definitely some healing around this that your soul wants to bring you, or wants you to take as a communication message to others. That's the other possibility. It might be calling you to be a healer in some way. But let's just see a little bit more about the message, how it fits in with that longer term arc of your soul's development, and then what advice Spirit has for you around that. So firstly, a little bit more about the message. The Empress reversed, the Lovers reversed, Temperance reversed, okay. 3 of Pentacles, 4 of Cups, okay. This is very, at the moment, leaning towards the healing issue. I think that your soul wants you to know there is some significant healing that needs to be done to bring you to the point then that you can communicate something, whether it's with others in a way that helps them. And I think there could be that energy there of then connecting with others and helping them break through similar blocks. As I say, there could be a calling to you to be a healer. But you first of all have to own it yourself, because there's like a kind of self-doubt operating here. You've got the Empress reverse, the Lovers reverse, Temperance reverse. It could be because of relationships, like trying to communicate what you want, trying to connect in relationships. There could be stuff that you're trying to heal from emotionally with that has made you start to doubt you could ever get anything fully in balance, and whether you can actually start to grow something that you feel is good, relationship-wise or otherwise. You may also have been in a very patriarchal, divine masculine sort of energy that has suppressed some of the divine feminine, and that may have been the cost for relationship or connection within that environment. It's out of balance. Remember, as I say, I was really drawn to the fact here that we have 7 stars, which is an odd number, but then each of the stars has 8 8 points. So it is actually in balance. So there is something here about bringing that sort of energy into balance, and it does connect with other people. You can collaborate and build with others. So I think once this is done, that communication energy with Jupiter, there is a lot of growth and abundance that can come. That turns that around, makes it the Empress upright, and it breaks through emotional blocks. I think it's saying you need to do it first. There's something very big here. You might be very well advanced in that, and so this might be saying you're almost done, or you have just done it, but now you can do it for others, or you may be just starting on that journey at the moment. But either way, I think your soul wants to say the outcome of this is something that's much more solid, that connects you with better people and you help others. So I think it is a calling for you to heal yourself so you become a healer in one form or another. So let's see how this fits with the broader arc of your soul's development, either across lives or, as I say, across this life, depending upon your beliefs around reincarnation or not. 9 of Pentacles, the High Priestess, 10 of Cups, 3 of Cups. Well, it's definitely getting better. Page, it's getting a lot better. So I think that either you've got to go through something pretty big and then it really starts to grow, and it's saying, like the Mercury with Jupiter's working very, very well for you. I think Jupiter for you, when your heart is healed and your emotions are healed, Jupiter works really, really well. Jupiter can be too much sometimes, but when it's operating well and in balance, it really is about abundance, joy, and so forth. This is what your soul is saying. You have been alone for quite a while in one form or another. Even if you've been in a relationship, you felt like you're alone, I would say. It doesn't have to be about a romantic relationship either that we're talking about. One of the things I think that you have been able to do is become a self-made person regardless of whatever else is going on. So that part of your sort of like following your star you've done. But there is a sense now of really connecting to your spiritual energy and your soul's energy to bring in, happy families, love, a sense of outcome, a good outcome there. There is a real opportunity, having done this healing and so forth, and then going and helping others, that it brings in that kind of thing, celebration with others. In fact, other people, we've got the 3 of Pentacles upright and the 3 of Cups upright. To me, that is saying that if there has been an issue with other people, that is healing, or you're going through that healing. The energy coming through with people after that is a lot better. It's a lot more aligned, a lot more creatively aligned as well. You're heading into a cycle where your spiritual work and your strength, your grounded strength, will actually bring very lovely sort of relationships, connections, creativity, and so forth in for you. So it is a time that you can follow your star, but there is some healing that either has just happened and you're ready to do this, or that you have to go through first. And it'll depend upon who's come to this reading, where you are on that particular continuum, but that's a continuum your soul wants to talk about. So what advice does your soul have for you around this at the moment? 7 of Wands, the 7s, have the courage. That's the first thing, have the courage. Ace of Wands, something new passion, new inspiration. Start to think, yes, there is a new energy coming through. Page of Swords, you're able to communicate that with others. Like Mercury is very strong. You are meant to communicate this with others. And Knight of Cups, it's going to bring love or better relationships, whatever it is. If you're already in a happy relationship, then it means other relationships, family, friendships, colleagues will get better. You'll get offers and so forth coming out of this once you start to communicate what you do. There is something deeply creative. So it's almost as though if you are meant to be a healer, it's more like you could do it through some creative project rather than necessarily going and studying medicine or aromatherapy or something. By all means, do that if you are drawn to that, but it's not just limited to that. But it's definitely about the courage, having the courage to move forward, knowing that you can do it. It's really interesting because I heard when that went down, there's a French saying, and I cannot speak French well, so apologies to anybody who does. I'm going to probably insult your ears by my pronunciation, but it goes something like, courage, mon ami, le diable est mort. And it basically means, courage, my friend, the devil is dead. And it's really interesting in this. This happened with pile 1 as well too. That I almost feel it tugging from this for some of you to pile 3 as well. So I think there's something about pile 3 in this particular set of readings. It's not to say, if you didn't feel it, don't do it. Don't do it. But I think for some of you, this is the first message, and there's something that needs to be released, or whatever the message is for pile 3. And I haven't filmed pile 3 yet because I do them in order. So I don't know why I'm getting that, but I'm getting a kind of a drawing in both cases for different reasons. This is like something that hurt you in the past is over, I think, and you just need to be able to because better energies are coming through. So let's have a look at it at 3 different lenses. Let's have a look at it in the very human, career, vocation, human experience. We'll have a look at it from the heart, and we'll have a look at it from the spirit, just to get a little bit more information, which we'll then add to with the heart code oracle. So firstly, the kind of human experience of this spiritual message from your soul. Give it a whirl. Yeah, like don't be afraid. Do the healing and then go forward. And it's interesting, green is the heart color. So it's like, just let your heart go in a direction, have the courage. There's nothing to lose here really, because you've done the healing. You can heal yourself if something doesn't work, but there seems to be a promise here that it will once you actually do it. It's like, just move forward in whatever this is. What energy around your heart? Is your heart going to need to protect itself, or is the heart ready to grow? What's the energy there? Okay, this is the pain, rejected heart. Transform heartbreak into inner strength. So if you have felt rejected, misunderstood, or whatever around your ideas, what you're doing around love, this is going to shift, but that's the heart energy. That's the healing. The healing is around that. And don't use the past energy to stop you from moving forward with what you want, because there's a promise here you will find, whether it's a love partner or whether it's better people to work with or whatever it is, that's meant to happen. But this is the healing energy. There's some feeling like that for you to deal with. And then on a sort of spiritual well-being level, mind shift. Struggle dances to the tune of the mind. Ease flows with the tune of the heart. Yeah, it's like this is a mind shift, a communication shift and so forth, to something that's more joyous. If you shift your heart from feeling the rejection to the next step, to the growth and the abundance that comes with the 8, that will help you shift all of this. And the Mercury energy there is there to help you. But I do feel that there needs to be some healing first. So it'll depend on where you are in relation to this energy. Let's see what we get with the heart code oracles. So these are just kind of energetic things across different areas. We'll use one that's around career, vocation, money. Then we'll use a heart code oracle around the heart and relationship. And then we'll use one that's around general well-being. So the career one that was under the thing, boundaries. Okay. Maybe there's a learning here around what you went through before, where you felt rejected, misunderstood, whatever it is, to have the right boundaries. Give it a whirl, but make sure it's for the right people. If you are moving from learning about healing to healing others, it maybe make sure that if you do this, particularly as around a career, that you have the right boundaries around that. Don't turn clients into friends and things like that. That could be something to be aware of. Then with the heart energy, reach out. Yeah, don't give it a whirl. Reach out to those that you think you could connect with. That's the Page of Swords as well too. The more that you communicate, the more you bring good energy. Don't feel that you're always going to be rejected. But when you do this, do have the boundaries, do have a good assessment about, particularly as I say, if it comes into your career in some way, around what your role is and what that means about the people that are coming to you through that. And then around your general well-being, disconnection. Okay, there's a disconnection between your mind and your heart at the moment, I think. So if you shift your mind to connect more with your heart, you allow yourself to do that, because that takes a bit of courage, and courage is necessary. There's some beautiful energy that can come through for you. Let's see what chakra balance would help with each of these as well. So around the boundaries, saying like go for it in whatever you want to do materially that connects to this, but make sure you've got clear boundaries. We have the throat chakra. That kind of makes sense. Balanced. I talk and speak with confidence. Yeah, you do. You've got a very strong way of communicating that can do a lot of good for you, and you know what you're talking about. You've walked the talk basically. So that's good. And if you need to have boundaries, you can have the confidence to do that, to do it in a kind way, but a way that is clear. What about around moving from the rejected heart to being able to reach out and connect again? We have the third eye chakra. I see, but I am disconnected from the universe. So you may have lost a little bit of hope there. This is sort of your soul is trying to tell you that's just part of the healing process. You'll reconnect with that. Maybe, again, it's an attitude you need to think about. It's a way you're thinking about it. Because like the third eye should be helping you connect. That should be on a kind of telepathic level. But if you're feeling disconnected from your soul, you may have shut that down. So the boundaries may not be right. So think about that. And then when we talk about the mind shift, so that you don't feel the disconnection of your heart and your mind, we have the solar plexus. Overactive, I do get narrow-minded. Yeah, it's got to do with This is the tough love side of the soul, okay? This is saying that you have gone through something, there's no doubt about that, and you are on the process to healing, and how you heal will be very helpful not only to you but to others in one form or another, and things are going to get better. So your soul wants you to know overall they've got your back, you're heading in the right direction, but it is saying like you've got some beliefs about this that you need to shift because it's what keeps you bound up. That's why, and stops you from feeling the courage. So it's don't get narrow-minded, go into your power. I find it really interesting that colouring this, obviously the colouring of that chakra, and there's that similar colouring there with Mercury and Jupiter. So your mind is actually a real power for you, but of course if we let the mind rule and get outbalanced with the rest, it can limit us, it can disconnect us, all of that kind of thing. So it's just worth being aware of that so that you fully heal. You probably know you're fully healed when you're not feeling that, you're not feeling the disconnection, or that everything's just going to be the same as before, because it's not. There's meant to be a shift here for you, pole 2. Okay, so let's get you a couple of sort of fantastical mythical guides to help you with all of this. Luethia. And Borealis. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing these names correctly, I have to say. So Borealis, as I say, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, is challenge. He is a challenging energy. It's the cold winds of winter. So this is like picking up the sense of like there's healing to go through. This is like your soul is saying whatever you've been dealing with, it is significant. Like you're not over dramatizing it or anything like that. But this has also shown your strength. And interestingly, he is connected to Jupiter. And as I said, I think at the beginning, I think you probably work quite well with Jupiter. Sometimes Jupiter is too much. So if you had a tendency with Jupiter for things to expand too much, then you could get too negative. And there is a little bit of a thing here to make sure you don't do that, to believe that Jupiterian things would bring the sun and sort of like defrost all of this. Because anything you think or believe, you will magnify. So I think there is an energy there about being aware of it, but if you actually see, this is part of what makes me strong, and it's ultimately what will bring me the Jupiterian growth and bring me back to my star, that's important, because Luethia is about rebirth. It is about having gone through something and being reborn and understanding that you can do something anew. It's not tabula rasa necessarily, but it is that kind of sense of I can have almost got a clean slate. I can move forward. And there's a very strong divine feminine energy here, picking up the Empress reverse. So once this energy is done, your divine feminine sort of side has returned and been reborn. So I think it's just showing the process around it. And it's a little bit of a warning there that your mind is so strong. Don't let it stay frozen over. Let the Jupiterian warmth come in so that you can go through the rebirth energy. And then I think you'll be able to show other people how to do this. Okay, let's get you some stars to guide you. Pluto. Okay, yeah, it's big dark night of the soul stuff potentially. Revelation, transformation, death and rebirth, liberation. So I'm going to put it there. This is meant to be a rebirth, but it goes deep. It really does. There's nothing small about what you've dealt with, but your resilience and your strength and your understanding is meant to kind of now heal you and then take you into a much better cycle. And Saturn, discipline, maturity, structure, and leadership. Yeah, okay. So that also makes sense because Saturn here, as I say, Saturn can bring the structure that you need to make this into a business if you wanted to be a healer, or to just create a new cycle. Because I said for some of you, it feels like cycles of years of 7 or something like that. But equally, Saturn can be too limiting, and Saturn and Jupiter are fighting each other a bit here. So you want the best of both, and you want your mind to be focused on that. So the best of Jupiter is expansion that is warm, encouraging, helpful and generous to others, but not too much. And the best of Saturn is to have structure and kind of boundaries and all of those sort of things, which we talked about before, that provide a security, but again, not too much that it stops the capacity to heal or grow. So there's a lot, and it's almost as though within the process of rebirth, this will actually start to make sense and come into balance. The other thing I feel with Pluto there, with Loetha being like the divine feminine, with the Empress being reversed, I often associate the Empress card with Demeter in Roman mythology. So I feel as though there is a kind of dark night of the soul energy here, like a genuine one. You've been through a dark night of the soul. You've gone down like Persephone into Hades and met Pluto. So this is also your rebirth and coming up. So there may be a cycle energy around this as well too. Understanding the cycles and the timing could be very important for you because, of course, Demeter bargained with Hades or Pluto, had Persephone come back for 2 of the seasons of each year and so forth. So there might be here how you bring things into balance, and that might be how you balance the need for both expansion and boundaries, how you get that right, understanding that there are cycles around things in some way. Hopefully that makes sense. So to finish off, I just want to I want to ask your soul for a divinatory method or energy that could help you connect even more with what the soul is trying to say to you here and understand it more clearly. So for you, we get pendulum. Okay. So yes, no sort of answers, that kind of thing. A pendulum will work well for you. It's a good balance. Bearing in mind the balances here, that could like help you decide on decisions and so forth as you sort of incrementally sort of move towards what you want to do with it. But it does look to me like in many cases here, there might be almost a bit of a binary choice, and being aware of that. Is this person right for you or not? Is this business thing the right idea or not? It's like, it feels like with the pendulum to me, even though there can be it could go either way type of thing when it goes round and round. Generally speaking, it is a kind of a thing where you're dealing with a lot of binary decisions. The binary decision of Saturn to Jupiter, for instance, and so forth. But I do think it's going to say part of the healing might be to get the clarity there. So I hope that resonates for you. I hope it made sense. It's sort of like a big thing because it depends on what the healing was. But I think if you come to the right reading, you'll know what that is. If you enjoyed the reading, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome to pile 3 to your reading. So you came to the reading with the Devil, which is the Queen of Hearts. So there's a kind of, if we're using the Journey to Oz and Wonderland deck, you have both Wizard of Oz and Alice in Wonderland. So we have those sort of characters or whatever. And the Queen of Hearts is a character that is not so much about the heart, but more about control and more about might is right and that sort of energy. So she's in Alice in Wonderland and Alice encounters her. I feel that there's a very cool, cold energy to that for all that we've got the sort of red heart there. But I do feel that for some of you, this might be about relationships, particularly with Venus and Mars there, and working out a very big change around what type of relationships to have. But power has got something to do with this. So that's interesting. There's something about power with Jupiter and Pluto. Working at its best, major change that's benefic. Working at its worst or in a difficult aspect, too much power. A Queen of Hearts energy that has an impact on Venus-Mars here, the sort of balance of like the male-female. And it doesn't have to be that in terms of gender that you identify, but I mean in terms of the sort of principles of those, both within an individual for their balance of masculine and feminine, but also within the balance of a relationship. But there's something potentially about power here. It could be about making a decision. Is it something that can be brought into balance and therefore is really strong, or is there a real issue around a relationship? And it doesn't have to be a love relationship. It can be a friendship. It can be a dynamic in the family, anything like that. So I think that for those who came just to this one, and I'm going to say why I said this, but if you came just to this one, this is probably about some relationship that you have to determine whether or not it is an equal relationship or whether it is one where you need to be free of a kind of very dominant energy. So we'll see what we get. But why I say if this is the one you came to, the interesting thing is in both of the other 2 piles, I said for some of you, you may need to go to this one because there was almost like an energy of the Devil card floating through all of them for some reason and for different reasons. So if you've come from the other, sort of apply, the main message would be the first pole that you went to, but apply this to a relationship dynamics in relation to what that other message was. So I'll just say that much. I'm not going to keep reflecting back on those other ones, because I don't want to sort of confuse with people who've just come to this. So I'll focus really on if this was the only one that you'd come to, but just bear that in mind if you did come for that reason. But there is definitely something about a power dynamic here, and whether this is something that can balance or whether it's something you have to liberate from. And my feeling is that it's someone's around you who's trying to dominate you. Or you may feel that they are. So you've got to determine, is it really a true heart connection, or is it just a power thing? So let's use the tarot. And the first line is just going to get a little bit more about the message to be a bit clearer about it. Then the second line is looking at where this fits in the arc of your soul and spiritual development. And when I think about the soul, I think about development across all lifetimes. And so I often say the soul is a bit dispassionate. It's a kind of a tough love side of your energy, where it's like, you might be going through something difficult right now, but that's good for your development. So bear that in mind. And the same even if the soul energy there is around just cradle to grave in this life, if you don't believe in reincarnation. But we're sort of trying to see where this fits in your development path, and then what advice Spirit would have for you. So firstly, just a little bit more about what this is about. We have the Five of Swords, the Five of Pentacles, the Fool, so something new, the King of Pentacles, and then the Six of Pentacles. Okay, there's definitely something about power here. I'm going to talk about this as about a relationship. If you don't feel that there's a relationship issue that fits what I'm about to describe, then it could be that if you've come to this one first, it's a secondary level of one of the other two. So I would suggest going and listening to the other two as well, because there was some connection of all of them to the Devil card, or to the concept of the bondage of the Devil principle. But otherwise, if this makes sense, then this is your pole. You don't need to go and look at anything else. This is saying right now that there is a potentially very good connection coming in with Jupiter. Jupiter can be a benefic, but Pluto is there. So there is a massive issue around power. There could be a very big power imbalance between you, or it could be a personality thing. I think for many of you, this is someone who has more money or more status than you. You're starting out on something, you come across someone, and it could appear wonderful, and it might be. There is a possibility with Mars and Venus that it can balance out, but this is the question you have to look at. This connection appears to be very advanced materially, whereas you're coming across as the Fool starting out on something. Even if you're, well advanced in your career or whatever, I feel like this is someone who has higher status and who is potentially looks quite generous. And that could be the case. They could be very generous. For some of you, it may not even be a love thing. It may be a great person to work for, a patron or a sponsor, all of which is fine if that's the case. Just as long as you make sure that you are very clear on the terms of whatever it is, you'll be fine. This is not necessarily saying this is going to be bad, but it is saying that there is an imbalance. And you're coming from a position where you felt like you weren't able to move forward with ideas, or materially you felt alone and not what you wanted. So this is a very tempting thing. So I think that this is saying that for many of you, there is an opportunity coming up through a connection to someone, whether it is a love relationship or a business relationship. And it does represent a whole new growth path for you. And there is definitely a lot of potential here. But because you start in that position, you need to be aware, what if you in the longer term would want this person to be an equal or a partner romantically as well as in business or whatever. It's important to work out how to balance this off at the beginning, because there is a big difference. It could be a big difference in age as well, but I think it's more in material outcome. So it has its benefits, and you may not even have to worry as long as you're very clear with the Devil card here, what's in the contract. If it's sort of like getting a patron or whatever, it might not matter. And it doesn't matter if they're more powerful. It may be taking you to a much more powerful, bigger stage or whatever. But there's something here about not getting trapped. And this person with that energy, they think they're right. So it'd be if you are looking for them to be a boss or a patron or something, then the chances are they will have some pretty fixed ideas. Now that's fine if you're sort of open to that, but it could become an issue further down the track. So it's just being really clear on that. I think your soul just wants you to understand what's at stake here, so that you start as you mean to continue with it. So let's see, how does this fit in with the arc of your general spiritual development? Queen of Wands. Yeah, you're meant to be successful and self-actualize here. Four of Swords, the Seven of Cups, the Metamorphosis, which is Death card, choice. I think, let me just look at the number. Actually, it's beyond that. It's actually an additional card. Sorry, this deck does have additional cards. So it's sort of like, this shows this has gone through a full cycle to get there, because this is part of a sort of transformational energy for you. And the Messenger, which is also an additional card. Okay, so it's definitely, okay. So let's jump to those two first. This is saying, this is coming to you, even though it's a new beginning. It is a definite new beginning we're talking about. It's not coming off a low base. With Metamorphosis, it's like you've been through the whole major arcana. And it's a bit like, I will say, the Fool reversed is like, I've been through that whole thing. You know, I know what I'm doing here. There's a similar sort of thing here. You've gone through a lot of transformation. You've done a lot of work, whatever it is. And whatever you've done has probably transformed and been looked at in great detail, whatever this is about. If it's relationships, you've gone through the beginning, middle and end of relationships. You've sort of transformed and worked out who you are. So this is not coming off a low base. So even though you're in, this is, I think, something that Spirit wants you to know. This person appears to be more successful or more sure of themselves or something, but you're meant to be too, because you've done the work. So don't underestimate yourself. That's the first thing. There is some sort of message or offer coming to you. This is what it's talking about. That, as I say, if you feel this person recognizes that you're bringing something very well developed, so they might be a bit of a stick in the mud about things, but they're happy for you to be the brains behind the actual thing, for instance. Or if it's in a relationship, if they are very confident in themselves, but they're looking for someone confident, they see the Metamorphosis, that's fine, because then the power's not going to become imbalanced. It's going to stay balanced. But if they don't recognize that, if the message seems to be very much like to give you an example, you know, if it was, you know, you were a writer and a publisher said, yep, we want to publish your book, but we're going to edit, you know, it very, very rigorously, it may not be the best thing, because that may not be the right connection, because you've done a lot of work on it already. So it's just giving you an idea. So this is how you might understand it. The thing about this, what your soul is saying in your development is asking you to go within with the Four of Swords. And it's very interesting. The Four of Swords in this deck is the Red King, and this is the Red Queen. There's a sense there that you could, if you think about the story, the Red King tends to go off and sleep a lot because he doesn't want to deal with the Red Queen. So again, it's like, this is going to be the balance you need to think about. If you feel that some of your vision of what you want, you'd kind of just withdraw, just not to have the argument with this person, that could be an issue. So it's just really thinking through all that. Like what kind of boundaries do you want to put around it and so forth? Because there could be a lot that's good in this, you know, and it could have been you felt like what you were trying to do has sort of been hidden because of sort of material circumstance and people not understanding it with those two fives there. So it's not necessarily saying this is bad, it's just understanding the implications of it. There's a lot to be said potentially. This shows a lot of potential for you with the Seven of Cups. It could be the ideal, but it could also be an illusion. So I think things like the clarity of the message in how this connection comes, whether it's a love relationship or whether, I think for a lot of you this is more business or creative or something, but you know, if it's a love relationship, the same thing. The clarity of the message, that you see that they are balanced, that they really do admire you, that they see all that you've done. That's one thing. If they're not showing that, then it's more likely to be, this sounds really wonderful, but is it going to come into being? So this is a real test for you, pile 3, to because it's something very tempting. And it's like, now, it's a temptation balanced enough that you can move forward with confidence, or do you fall into sort of something where you're going to maybe struggle with it afterwards? So it's a bit of a crossroads type energy around this. What road is the right road to go down? So let's see what your soul wants to say to you with advice around this. Because this could be wonderful and the person could be fine, but there is a power imbalance around it. That's what I say is very, very clear. The High Priestess, so going within, your intuition will really help you with this. The Tower, it's big. This is a big change. It's big. What is your intuition telling you? Is this the revolution you need that breaks down old structures, is the breakthrough for you, the aha moment, or is it sort of something that's going to constantly bring turmoil? The Magician. Oh, wow, this is powerful. You're strong. Don't forget you're strong. And the Sun. Like, okay. I think that this is saying there is a lot to be said for this, whether it's a love relationship or otherwise. Do not doubt your own intuition. Do not doubt your own capacity to communicate. So there's a real hint here that communication can help you work this out. You're on the right life path. If this, say this was somebody who wanted to be a patron of something you were doing, or someone who wanted to employ you, but the more you look into it, the more you feel, no, actually, this is just not going to work. It's sort of like Spirit would be saying to you, then you've made the decision, you've brought that up to the surface. Even if it's pushing it back, you don't go forward, because you know what it's telling you is that you had something that was of great value. Because the thing is that when people want you to work for them or want to be your patron or whatever, they do see your value. The question is, how much does the power imbalance at the beginning become an issue for you? And if it isn't, if you work through all that, this is the breakthrough, then it's a major breakthrough for you. So I think this is saying that for many of you, you're about to sort of really step up in something. It's either a really important relationship and you're stepping up socially, materially as a result of it, or this is something you're doing creatively or with your work or something and you're stepping up. And you'll do it with or without this person in a way, but in the sense that you should realise that the opportunities wouldn't be there, that relationship wouldn't be there if you weren't already being the Queen of Wands over here. But in whether to take this particular one or look for a different path, it's through your communication and working out with your intuition and what you feel your life path is. Is this right, or is it going to be a storm in your life that is not something that you want? But it's powerful. And if it's a relationship, it's a powerful one. Oddly enough, if this is a relationship, if it's a tower type relationship, as long as you know, you can see in the communication with the person that over time you can balance it out. And there is a potential of that. Then it could be good in a way if this person is sort of more developed, more confident or whatever, because somebody has to be in a tower relationship, because it's such a powerful emotional thing. I've seen time and time again, relationships not happening because the tower energy is there, because both are too vulnerable. So it could be that all this is saying is initially this person seems to lead and all that kind of thing, and you feel like, am I being lured into being bossed around? But that's actually not what's going on, because it's just somebody has to do it because of the intensity of it. That's where communication is important, being really clear and like using that to analyze, is this the ideal or is it something that is illusory and will be ultimately very dominating? So let's see how it operates on 3 different levels. So firstly, just around day-to-day, so particularly if this was around career or something, then we'll have a look at the heart. If it's around relationships, and then we'll look at it spiritually. So around your kind of day-to-day human experience, career, vocation, money, material type of things, the energy around this is Master of Destiny. Wow, it's very Magician. Are you the master of your destiny? Is this person trying to be the master of your destiny? Is it important to connect with this person even if they are, because they are important to your destiny? You can work this out. It's saying it. Your intuition and your intellect and your communication can work this out, but you do have to ask that question, because this is going to be very attractive, very beguiling. The question is it something that can balance out? All right, let's have a look at your heart energy. Trapped heart, step outside your comfort zone. Okay, again, you could feel trapped in a relationship, or it could be that your fear of relationships or whatever need exactly this to break through, because you're not sort of feeling you can move forward and you need someone to have the confidence to do it. Again, it just depends, but there is a risk here. You know, like you've got the heart trapped in there, you've got the heart in the hand of the Queen. So you do need to be careful and aware. This could be the ideal, and then you're not trapped at all, you're just together, but just have to be careful. Let's see around the spiritual energy. Digital warrior, the voice of freedom comes in many forms. Your connection to the divine is your power cord of light. So there's certainly a connection to your higher self that will help you. This is why the high priestess, listen to your intuition. Could be that this connects you in some way through things online. That might be how you meet or how the opportunity comes through. It might also be a way to communicate and research and find out a bit about what's involved. So make of that what you will. Let's have a look at what the heart code energies are around each. So what I have here is heart code energies for career, for relationships, and also for general well-being. So career, relationships, general well-being. The career energy for you, preparation. Okay, preparation is all. Get prepared. If you haven't already had this offer come through, if this is about an offer for something, and it could be prepared that an offer is going to come. So know what your non-negotiables are. Know what it would mean if someone of more power or resources or whatever offered you something. What would you be prepared to do? Like know ahead of time. Prepare for this because something is coming. For the heart, listen. Okay, listen to your heart. Listen to your intuition. Also listen to what they're saying. Communication is going to tell you. You're going to know really early in the piece. Is this sort of something where there's going to be a dominant energy that becomes a problem, or is it one where there's going to be perfect balance? Or if it starts out a bit dominant, is the person open to the sort of partnership rather than domination sort of energy? And then for your general well-being around spirit, recovery. Okay. So if you do go through all of this, I think Spirit is saying you can still recover and you can use all your sort of communication. It's not like even if you sort of jumped into it and you weren't sure and it did turn out to be very controlling, you'll be able to break free if you need to, and you'll be able to recover. But there's also a thing here about if you have felt, because right at the beginning we were saying one of the things that makes you a bit vulnerable here is if you felt like ideas haven't been listened to, material things haven't happened, you're worried about money, whatever it might be, you're worried about being alone. Recovering yourself and understanding the importance of your communication and preparing is going to be very important. Okay, let's also have a look at chakra balance for each that could be helpful for you. So around career, vocation, money, any of those sort of aspects that this could be talking about, we get the solar plexus balanced. I do act responsibly. So that's good. Part of your preparation, you're not going to put in something that is so one-sided to your side either, that you wouldn't fulfill what you were doing, or it wouldn't be equal on that side. So it's sort of like prepare and lead by example. If the person is leading by money, you lead by example. That could be a very good side of it. Also, if you do have to get out of something, if you've acted responsibility and kept up your side and the other hasn't, then you've got a lot of moral and legal high ground if you need it. Around the heart, we have the third eye chakra. I see, but reality is not clear. Yeah. If this is around relationship stuff, this is where it gets the most murky. This is where we have the Seven of Cups. You can get to that though. This is saying with the magician, with the digital warrior there, with the high priestess, you are actually very good with communication. That's how but you've got to be prepared to see. You've got to be prepared to look at something that's very attractive and just make sure that it's not a trap of some sort. And around your sort of spiritual and broader well-being, we have the heart chakra, I love and forgive balance. So regardless of whatever happens with this, you will deal with this maturely. So this person will either be mature as well, and it's a little bit of a kind of settling in where you find out where the different powers are and how to balance it, and that's beautiful, and both of you will do it. Or the other one will be revealed not to be able to love and forgive and to be very controlling, but you'll be able to move on and recover. So whatever happens, you're in a way the stronger of the two, but I just think material or something like that, this other person in whatever it is ahead of you at this point. So it's like, how mature are they going to be about it? Okay, let's give you a couple of sort of mythical creatures as guides around this energy. Buddha, well, that's good. Like that's going Zen, going within your intuition. You know, that kind of brings up the sense. But it's also like there is a side of that, though, about that is a renunciation of all things material. Don't renounce what is yours. And cultivar. It's a rather beautiful card. Cultivar, I think, is interesting. I just had to pause to look that one up because I hadn't come across that card before. It's gorgeous. It's about, passing the torch. So this makes a lot of sense with this. Cultivar says that you're about to have the torch, the baton passed to you. And so I do feel for a lot of you, this could be a very wonderful thing and it could work out really well, but you just need to go in prepared and make sure it is all that it could be rather than something that kind of traps you. But you are being chosen, whether it's in love or in some other way. You're being chosen, you're being recognized. Have faith in that. Buddha is also asking you to look at what do you believe. So this is the thing with the Seven of Cups, being very clear, going into your intuition and going within and being very honest with yourself. Because Buddha, because of the renunciation of all things material, there is something material about this, whether it's, the materialization of a great love, if it's a well-balanced one, or the materialization of what your skills and abilities are bringing in. So it's like, don't be too self-sacrificial, but also be very clear with yourself. It's very important to be clear around this, because it's a very enticing energy, and you deserve it. This is the other thing. It's like, it's not whether you deserve this love that's coming in, it's time for you to have love, or whether you deserve, a patron or something like that. It's like you still need to check the fine print, basically, I think is the overarching energy. Let's see some stars to guide you. Mars, assertion, force, passion. I'm going to put this over here. Like there is a lot of passion around this, Venus and Mars, but Mars is also like, you've got to get the Venuses in balance with it as well. So there is stuff about assertion, force, passion, the kind of divine masculine energy, all of that kind of thing. You need to kind of like work that out. Is that in balance? And Taurus, material world, stability. Yeah, there's something in this that's meant to materialize. And it is meant to be the good life. Like it's the apocryphal thing, whether it's in a relationship or whether it's something else. There is an offer coming that does recognize something special about you and love her in some other way. And it really could be part of bringing in the good life. But the question is, what's the power dynamic? Just so that it doesn't become a trap rather than becoming what you really want it to be. Okay, so just to finish off, I thought I'd ask your soul for a way, in terms of divination, that your soul would say you could connect more with your soul to get advice as this goes along. So, for you, I Ching. Oh, that's interesting. So you certainly look up the I Ching, but why that's interesting, because this is all about power. The I Ching is an interesting system. It's very ancient Chinese system. And it is based on ancient Chinese culture that was probably pretty patriarchal in how it's written. But it has a lot to do with power. A lot of the ways that the hexagrams are described are about what a general or a warrior or a king would do, that kind of thing. So all the way through this is about power. There is power associated with that. The I Ching would be a very good guide, I would think, actually. What are the dynamics going on? And it also shows the capacity for change, because it's called, the system of change, because different types of layers of the hexagram will actually have what they call moving lines that goes from one to another. So that will tell you what change is coming up as well too, and it gives you a sense of the steps and what is the natural evolution of something. So yes, I think it makes a lot of sense for this as a particular divination method for you. So I hope that resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. Like, this could be wonderful. It could also be wonderful at first and then difficult. So, but either way, if you're prepared, you might have an escape clause in all you do. So you do you in this in the way that you do it, but that's the point. You do you rather than what the other person wants per se. Hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings.